There's no difference.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay. Now we're ready.
Okay,
First of
thank
all,
you very much.
My name is Amber Collins, and I am the owner of the Soul Book Nook. I started this because of my love for books, but also I wanted to help. You know what I'm saying? During times of chaos, upheaval, distress, the world needs hope. You know, hope to keep on building, hope to keep on being creative and innovative. You know, we were shut in our homes. Really, I'm sure many of us didn't know what to do and what to think. It was the first time we had encountered anything like a virus, you know what I'm saying, that shut down the country. So what I did was I really prayed for how to know how to help. I didn't know what to do to help the people in the world. During the times when the police were struggling with the community and the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, the Black Lives Movement was birthed. And I felt that I didn't belong on the front lines. You know, everyone can be a part of everything. So what I prayed for was a way to help. And what I felt like the Spirit told me was to just follow my love of books. And that books can bring a community together as far as it creates a safe environment. All of us have read a book or two, right? A time in our lives. But they can bring people together. So that's why this store was birthed out of a way to help. I wasn't marching on the streets, but I felt I had a place in society to help, but I had to find my place. And this is what happened. First, I started in my vehicle selling books. And then the physical site manifested because I kept asking the person to rent out their space. And finally, on the third try, they say, yes, you can have the physical location for your store. So that's what I did. I wanted to create a community space that was safe, nurturing, and that everybody in the community belonged to. We had enough division. You know what I'm saying? We had enough fear. And so I feel that this has worked. I've met a lot of people from all walks of life, and also my love of books. My mother was a traveler. She's what you call a journeyman. So during the 70s, she traveled like to London, Germany. She wrote articles. She has been in the Essence magazine, but she loved books, but I didn't hardly get to see her. So she would send me books from all of her travels. She would send me like a book or two on my birthday. So that was my connection. So those books were helping me connect with my mother in the only way that, you know what I'm saying, we could at that time, was letters in a book. So my love of learning began there because, one, I was without my mother, those emotions, those feelings of, loss or whatever, not having her with me at the time. It birthed something in me to love reading because it took away that loneliness. It took away that loss, that feeling of not being connected. So that's it. I just love books. But you know what? Reading books really did help me to cope. And in this world where you're going to go into classrooms to teach children that have been through trauma, that have been through grief and loss, you have now a culture of students that have gaps in learning, but that have went through something, the pandemic, that was very traumatic. So you're teaching a new generation of students. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have to make that connection. And if you don't think that's important, it is. Because it's gonna build, what do you want your classrooms to look like? Maybe some of you have a grant that says you have to teach in a certain school district for 4 years before they'll help you with those loans, forgive those loans. You're gonna have to build a classroom that helps you not pull your hair out, okay? That you're not fighting every day with the behavior. And books are a great tool to do that. So what I wanted to do with the books, let me tell you a story. I was substituting one time in a classroom, and the project, it was Halloween. And the students had to complete a writing project on Halloween. All the kids had to pick a Halloween book. So there was a student, and he was sitting there, and he had his head down, and he was angry. He was in middle school. It was 4th grade. And he was sitting there, and I saw a paraeducator talking to him. And so he was just looking not happy. He seemed to be angry and about to blow. So I came over to him and I started talking to him and found out, one, he spoke French. He was learning English, but he's from the Congo. And so they also have a tongue called Lingala. And so he was looking at the book and he was angry, and I was trying to understand why he was like pushing the book away from him. And this is what I discovered. We see that the behavior was getting ready to start. The anger was there. You could see it in his face and his emotions. This is what we discovered. They did not believe in Halloween. They were scared of witches. They were scared of the ghosts and the monsters because in their religion, those things were demonic. They were dangerous. And so they had been brought up with the Christian belief system as far as their Christianity in the Congo. They believed that these things were dangerous to them, their soul. So here we were westernized, you know what I'm saying? Not understanding that we may celebrate Halloween, but they don't. And so what was the part of the teacher and what was the part of the student? And that student being respected for their belief system, but still completing a writing project that the teacher had to grade. So it's very important that you know the cultures of your students. And that's one thing that I had really wanted to bring out in today's lesson, was that we need to know the culture of our students. And everybody has culture, because we're all a mix of different beliefs, all a mixture of different things that have occurred in our environment. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't go by just color of the skin. All of us in America experienced the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? And we experienced it in different levels than other countries. But that was the culture that was built. We were all shut in our houses. We had a culture of being shut in our houses. So culture is more than just color, okay? But it's belief systems. And so we have to understand that about our students. We need to build cultural competency. And that's really where I'm at right now, because I'm still learning about ethnicity, okay? Where do we all come from? What is our belief system? But it also can create, if you don't understand that about your students and you just look at the color and think, maybe an African American, you see the dark skin, the melatonin is darker than others, more prevalent than others, you'll think they all came from the same neighborhood or they all know each other. But in some of the schools, you have those from the Congo. Then you have those from Nigeria. Then you have those from the east side. So we have to understand that you can't approach everybody the same way in learning. Okay, so we have to be able to accommodate the student. All right, so your books that you have, in talking about cultural competency, do any of you know what cultural competency means? Does anybody know what Professor, do you know what cultural competency is? So we have to know what cultural competency is. Because when you're studying counseling, when you bring up ethnicity in counseling, that will hinder your teaching environment, or it can add to the atmosphere. It can add to the learning. It can make you that Golden Globe teacher. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what we got to understand, because when the laws came out in 2004, you have IDEA. Does anybody know what IDEA stands for? Does anybody understand what specially designed instruction is? Do you know what LRE, the least restrictive environment, is? Can you answer that? You shook your head, yes.
Least restrictive environment?
Yes.
So it's making sure that students have the access to everything they need, which could be physically, if there's a student that has a physical handicap, or just tools to help them with their learning style in general.
Correct. And do any of you know who knows what the specialized designed instruction is about? If you have a student in your class.
I just want to say, a couple students, you have to go? Yes, a couple students have to class.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Not all of us. We just have class. So we have
okay.
to try to
Dang
get
it. I didn't get to do my little experiment with the book with you.
Do you want to sit here and use? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So let's get to the reason I picked the books then, in case any of you have to go. The reason I picked these books is you're going to have to be able to incorporate any book you assign to the class. You should make it where that lesson relates to everybody in the classroom. Because if you don't, you're going to have Johnny, and he's not going to like the book that you assign, and he's going to, if he has struggle with behavior, he's going to begin that disruptive process in your class, and you need to learn how to use that book to make it relevant to each student. So how would you make this book, how would you make Camilla relevant to a student in your class who does not look like the child on the cover?
Well, in the back of the book, it's all about friendship, and it kind of has girls that don't look like each other, and they're all fairies, but they all worked together to like make her wand work, and so like all the children could all be friends and work together in like a specific setting.
Okay, how about gender?
I mean, I don't know how you would, I don't exactly know how you would do that.
Okay, fair enough. How about, what is your book? Okay, how would you make that relevant to someone that has maybe been through a traumatic experience and they are now in your classroom? They don't have an IEP yet or a 504 plan.
Well, because it talks about like that this one's like the very beginning as like relevant, I guess. I'm not really sure what it's
Okay. How would that relate to someone who maybe does not? How would you do if they don't speak your language? You have an elementary, you now have a lot of children that have come from different countries, as I just mentioned, and they speak French.